Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Thank you, thank you. Communion with the infinite. At retreat, we were sort of focusing, you might say, tuning our dial to the reception, the receiving of this communion with the infinite as the infinite. And we've been talking about I guess it's a bit of a roadmap. I mean, everybody's got their own journey, but of the remember, reorient, rewire or refresh, you might say, and receive. And certainly the remembering, the recognition, the remembering of awareness without object, love without cause, wisdom beyond concept, life beyond personal subject. This remembering unfolds in time and space as a journey, a process that we then begin to, if we so choose, we begin to reorient as. It's kind of like sunflowers growing in a field and they follow the sun. That is their orientation. That is their orientation. And that orientation as awareness without object, awareness as love without cause, wisdom beyond concept, beyond mentation, life beyond a personal subject, as that draws, like the sunflowers, it draws us, it draws us, one, it calls one to it as that. Then we begin to um, we gain the capacity, you might say, their capacity blooms for this refreshing. It's a refreshing, a rewiring, so that the ups and downs of the surface nervous system and reactions and all that stuff sort of quiets down. It almost kind of becomes irrelevant to this in comparison to this calling. It becomes kind of irrelevant. And that is then the ground from which this reception of the communion as the infinite, with the infinite, from the infinite, through the infinite, begins to quite literally change the appearance, the thunder of silence. It's not through a personal doer, because a personal doer just gets tired, because we just can't do it. Tired, overwhelmed, burdened, not enough. You know the realm of the doer, the good spiritual person. You know, communion with the infinite is just that. It's infinite. So there are no limits other than our beliefs and conditions upon reality, the conditions that the false self harbors as and thinks of as reality. So, this is a chance for us to be together in that remembering and that calling. You know, in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, she asks the Master, um, but how will I receive? How will I receive this wisdom that's beyond concept, this love without cause? How will this be received in this individuality, this sacred individuality, this holy individuality? Will it be received in my soul, through the Spirit? And the Master replies that it will be received in the heart of the heart of being. And it doesn't matter if you feel it here or in the belly or, I don't know, the palms of the hands. Don't get hung up on, you know, I find that there is a strong portal here, but hey, the heart of being itself, the heart of life itself, Hakumta, the the indescribable, unfathomable, infinite power creating all that is. And in that communion, that direct encounter is where transmutation of all of the false self takes place. That's where it takes place. It doesn't take place in the battle of good and evil, good and bad. It doesn't, the transmutation does not take place there. It takes place in this direct encounter. Be still and know. The still, silent. What stills? Well, what stills is the narration and the doing by a personal sense. That for a moment, for 40 minutes tonight, is stilled. Because that's what we might, let's see how to say, that recognition, that remembering, that encounter, that communion with and as and from and through. It's kind of this paradox because it's like it's with and it's also as. Um, peace, peace without opposite, peace that doesn't depend on war, just fundamental peace of the holy instant. Then that begins to shine forth. And that is the foundation of peace in the world, is the recognition of the peace that is. It can only come from there. It can only come from there. So in a moment of, you know what word just came to mind? Treachery. I don't know whether to say that, but in a moment of, Sherry likes it, where we are walking through a deep trench, which we all are at this point. Let's face it, there is this falling back down and in to the, it's almost like it feels like a willingness at first, and then it moves beyond willingness to just naturalness, but a willingness to drop the narration, the concepts, the beliefs, the ideas around the world that we're living in, and rather give the attention to the depth of one's being, whatever that understanding is, current in your current understanding, and rest there. Orient to that like the sunflower to the sun. Be called by it and informed. Informed. It will inform beyond concept. And this is the practice on Tuesday nights.